This video, I'm gonna talk about PAT, Port Address Translation. So basically, how PAT works is basically it tracks of the port numbers. So, for example, PCA is trying to communicate with, let's say this is a web server. It's gonna use, its original source IP will be 192.168.1.10, but R1 is gonna translate that IP address into a public IP address because that IP address is not, that private IP address is not routable on the internet. So it's gonna be, for example, this IP address. This is a public IP address, 5.5.5.5.6. So PAT, like I said, is gonna track the port number. In this example, 5075, and we know that the web service has a port number of 80. So this will be how that IP packet will look like when R1 sends that IP packet onto the internet. So this is the source IP, and this is the destination IP, which is the IP of the web service. Web server. And same was true with PCB. So 192.168.1.20. It's gonna have a This is actually incorrect. Let me just double check. Yeah. This is actually good thing that I noticed it. This is gonna be, because we are just using a single IP, public IP here. So the public IP address will be the same, but the port numbers are different. So here, example here, this. So yeah, we are just using a single IP address here, public IP address here, which is 5.5.5.5, which is the IP address that is configured on gigabit 0/1 on R1 outbound interface. And of course, here the web server, the web server will have the same port number, which is the well-known 80 port number. So that's how basically PAT works. So it tracks all the port numbers. So you can have separate flows. So let's take a look at how we can configure it. So the same as we configured static and dynamic, we first identify the IPNAT inside interface and the IPNAT outside interface. So this is the IPNAT inside interface, and this is the IPNAT outside interface. And just like dynamic NAT, we just have to define our subnet that we need to be translated into public IP addresses. In this case, we just have one IP, but we have different ports, so we just have to specify the subnet that we need to be translated into public IP addresses, or public IP in this case. So access list 10 permit, this is the subnet, so /24, but we are just using a wildcard mask here. And this is how things tie together. So IP NAT inside source list. Of course, the source is this access list that we specified. So that access list is 10, and we are using the public IP of that interface gigabit 0/1, and this is the command that you don't forget, overload. If you forget to add this, then you just gonna use the single IP address. You want actually gonna configure path. So by adding this, this is how you actually configuring path or NAT overloading, and that's it. That's how you configure path. And like I explained earlier, the clients will have their own port numbers, of course, different port numbers, and we are using a single public IP, but that public IP will have different ports for each client, and the web server is going to use the same port. This actually, you can actually test this if you just have to try to telnet the 7.7.7.7 and specify the port 80, or let's say telnet 7. This is actually the command telnet 10. 7.7.7.7, and specify the port number, telnet, and telnet. Also same here, telnet 7.7.7.7, specify port 80. And you will see that you're gonna have a open connection. Sorry. So yeah, that's how port address translation or path works, and that's how you configure it. Yeah, thanks for watching. Bye.